This is a sad day for the Azure as we see brother turning against brother. In this battle we have a High Elf civil war, a mirror match, as two High Elf armies fight for dominance over Ulthuan. So for this battle sent in by Lenorm, he was playing against Mr. Tufel on the red side. For Lenorm here, we can see that we have a front line of spears with a single white lions in the mix, as well as a single swordmasters of Hoev. At the back, there's a whole lot of archer fire backing up the front line with archers mixed in with Elven Sea Guard. And of course, a very staple pick for all High Elf mirror matches, triple Dragon Princes. Not the Fireborn, as the High Elves do have a lot of flame resistance, just like these Dragon Princes here, 40%. So just normal Dragon Princes. Leading the army, we have Alario with the healing, Star of Avalon, and Earthblood. And also a Mage of Metal for that Plague of Rust. That is going to be all for Lenorm's army. Going for those heals from Alario, as well as using that Plague of Rust to debuff any possible heavy armored unit, namely these triple Dragon Princes, led by Imric, the Dragon Prince himself. These Dragon Princes also coming in with a whole lot of charge bonus, especially when synergized by the Dragon Horn, that 24 melee attack buff. The fighting power on these Dragon Princes are no joke, combined with their massive charge bonus. As for the main army, a whole lot of spears mixed in with archers for that firepower core, backed up by more Elven Sea Guard as well as some spears on the flanks as well. And for spell support, very standard stuff here, with the Mage of Life coming in with Earthblood as well as the Dwellers Below. No regrowth, interesting, but we'll see how it goes. And yeah, that's basically it for the army builds. Now let's get this show on the road. The outcome of this battle largely rests upon the shoulders of all these Dragon Princes on both sides, as they will be the major force of mobility trying to run down enemy archers and even rear charge devastate each other's infantry line. Speaking of infantry line, Alario does have a little bit more advantage in the front lines with their swordmasters as well as the white lions, capable of trading cost effectively against the spears and possibly the Sylvan Guard. Of course, they might have to brave the archer fire, but they do have that missile resistance or block chance to mitigate the damage. For the White Lions, they have the Lion's Pelt providing 30% of missile resistance. As for the Swordmasters, they are so good at fighting, they simply block arrows with their swords instead of shields. At the same time, the archers now are firing at each other. Both players seems to be deciding that they should be shutting down each other's missile capacity as soon as possible, so there will be some trading of arrows back and forth. Right now, both archer lines are just trying to focus fire, and both armies are now losing a single archer on each side. Both players now need to quickly switch targets and rain destruction into other healthy archer units. Mr. Tufel seems to be slightly better at this. Another unit of archers is down to half health for Alario's side, but Imric's archers are still quite healthy overall other than this one routing unit, and this unit of archers will be routing. On the side, Imric is biding their time here with the Dragon Princes circling around. With the spears and hostile Dragon Princes screening, it is not exactly easy to flank Alario's archers. While over here, the Dragon Princes pouncing out of the tree line, going straight after the Mage of Life, but there will be some Dragon Princes trying to respond. Showered by a bunch of Elven Sea Guard fire, they are taking some noticeable damage, but they do have the heavy armor, physical resistance, missile block chance. They took some damage, but nothing irreversible with some healing. However, this might be a massive problem with both Dragon Princes targeting them, charging them down, especially with that Plague of Rust debuffing their armor, and now that massive charge bonus on the Dragon Princes, the Green Dragon Princes, really devastating these poor Red Dragon Princes. But then responding with a Dwellers Below, a beautiful cast devastating both units of Dragon Princes from the green side. Mr. Tufel's Dragon Princes might have been destroyed by the Plague of Rust and Dragon Princes charge combo, but Lenorm also got hit hard by a spell retaliation. That leaves Lenorm with only one single healthy Dragon Prince on the far side, not even in the position to support any fights, while Mr. Tufel's Dragon Princes are already running over his archers. Now Alario's Dragon Princes are also charging into the backline, silencing the Elven Sea Guard and archers, enveloping. Here comes a Dragon Prince, the healthier one, going after the archers as well, but Swordmasters just cleaving a bloody path through all these spears and Sylvan Guard, and now getting into the backline protection. There are no spare infantry to protect these archers anymore, and they are left to the mercy of the dragon princes, who have brought none. Being healed up by some Earthblood, they will be restored into a slightly higher combat prowess and will be soon fighting onwards against some freshly charging in dragon princes. While at the front line, Alario's forces are getting the upper hand with the White Lions. It seems that they are getting routed at some point. Now, we totally missed that. Oh, yep, right here. The Silveran Guard actually held against these mediocre armor-piercing infantry, and the frontline engagement would devolve into sticks on board action. Dragon Princes right now chasing after other Dragon Princes, but these Dragon Princes from Alario's army are desperately trying to extract themselves from this engagement, charging down archers at the back and just avoiding Imrik and all these spears in the front, leaving the Swordmasters at the back hoping to clean up all these spearmen with their superior melee prowess, especially with the armor-piercing anti-infantry. On the far side, there are some Lothern Sea Guard staying their position. A tattered Dragon Prince unit is charging towards an equally tattered Lothern Sea Guard. Without the bracing effect, these Lothern Sea Guards will be destroyed in one clean charge. Mr. Tufel's Dragon Princes are still running over Lenorm's backline, this time going for a hammer and anvil against some poor spearmen. There will be more spearmen from Alario's side hoping to envelope them, trap them in this engagement, but that is only if their spears in the front can hold. While back in the middle, Dragon Princes charging against Imrik once again, but this is a trap as the single entity, forcing a blob around him, all these Dragon Princes, and even the Sword Masters who are busy hacking down some other high elf infantry. Now they are just absolutely obliterated by another cast of the Dwellers Below. 2 units of Dragon Princes routed. In contrast, Imrik still have 2 Dragon Princes units left, although one of them is debuffed by the Plague of Rust and is dealing with a bunch of spears. So Mr. Tufel will be quickly extracting them from the engagement, while more Red Dragon Princes are trying to clean up Alario's followers who are extremely tattered. But the healing from Alario will be really important here in keeping these Dragon Princes alive. There are more Swordmasters rushing in as their armor piercing would be quite effective, combined with their high melee attack. Once they envelope Mr. Tufel's Dragon Princes, they will quickly hack them down. Meanwhile, these Dragon Princes have taken noticeable damage from the Plague of Rust and the anti-large spears. The Dragon Horn is buffing up the attack of all the red high elf units, but it seems that they are not exactly doing a good job in punching through all these spears, even with that melee attack buff. Now, finally, this Dragon Princes from Alario's army is routed, chased down by the Dragon Princes from Imrik. And with that, the Dragon Princes from Imrik will be quickly extracting themselves, hoping to hunt down Alario the Radiant, while at the back there are some more Lothern Sea Guards just shooting down all these poor Dragon Princes who have already suffered heavy casualties from a combination of anti-large attacks and also Plague of Rust. At an overview of the battlefield, both armies are slowly running out of units, but Alario, controlled by Lenorm, does have a little bit more infantry presence left, while Mr. Tufel has successfully retained a single Dragon Prince unit. But they do have to be careful though, as they are now engaging a bunch of Swordmasters. With their superior melee defense, they actually hold up quite decently, even against the charges from Dragon Princes. Mr. Tufel will now activate his Mage of Life, replenishing the hit points on his Dragon Princes. But Alario, the master healer of Ulthuan, decided to one-up them, not only casting Earthblood but also doubling down with the Star of Avalorn. Combined with the Lore of Life, passive healing, and Shield of Sapphire, her own Dragon Princes, depleted as they are still holding valiantly. With their presence, Imrik's Dragon Princes cannot extract themselves from this engagement. Swordmasters remaining in this engagement, quickly hacking down all these poor Dragon Princes, up to 280 kills and still ticking. They have no doubt proven their abilities as the master killing machines on the High Elf roster. Poor Alario though is now pinned down by both Dragon Princes and the Mage of Life. Another Earthblood comes in to heal up the Dragon Princes, but whether it's enough is still a question to be answered, with more infantry from Alario's side pouring in. The balance of power is in favor of Imrik and Mr. Tufel here, simply because the single entities are still so healthy, but the problem is that they are running out of troops, while Alario, controlled by Lenorm, still have plenty of infantry left. Especially now all the spears and the Lothern Sea Guard who has ran out of ammo are rushing into combat, trying to screen out enemy cavalry and save their liege lord Alario. Imrik pushing forward, hoping to hunt down Alario, but some loyal guardians of the Ever Queen, the final handful of Dragon Princes, rushes into combat, body blocking for the Queen. With Imrik pinned down and no other mobility units are able to threaten her, Alario was able to escape back to safety. In order to clear all hostile infantry, a Dweller's Billow was dumped into the middle of all these spears and sword masters, debuffing their speed and more importantly, doing massive damage to all these blobbed up infantry. Mage of Life charging forward tries to fight Alario once again, does some nice damage on impact, but then with the Swordmaster surrounding her, she won't be hanging out for too long in this battle. She needs desperately some kind of units to reinforce her fight. Without any infantry or cavalry available, Imrik will have to rush to her aid himself. But unfortunately, his charge was blocked by their own units. They need to find a better charging angle, but now it is too late as Alario has escaped from this engagement. And now Lenormand will be pulling in some spears, hoping to body block the single entities from Mr. Tefel, as Alario drops in another Earthblood, sustaining the health of the blob. Some of Imrik's Dragon Princes have regrouped, rushing into combat once again, but Alario simply is too slippery. Swordmasters especially tying down all these units and doing some massive damage to the Mage of Life. This provides the perfect cover for Alario to play cat and mouse with enemy hostile Dragon Princes and skedaddle away. So instead, the Dragon Princess will be charging into this poor Mage of Metal here. Without much armor, no doubt she'll be destroyed by the 80 charge bonus on the Dragon Princess. While the Mage of Life over here is desperately trying to hunt down Alario along with the help of Imrik. Another Earthblood comes in from Alario, healing up the Loven Sea God and slowly pushing back the balance of power for their favor. However, Alario herself was almost caught up by Imrik. But unfortunately for Mr. Tefel, Imrik is stuck on some high elf infantry again, while Alario constantly spamming those heals to trigger the lore passives not only for the healing but also for Shield of Sapphire to mitigate the damage. Dragon Princess almost finishing up the Mage of Metal, but the Swordmasters are here for the rescue, routing off the Dragon Princess with a rear charge as Alario casually walks through some routing enemy troops, drops down an Earthblood and walks away again. Yet another Dweller's Billow comes in, probably the last one in the entire battle, this time turning their gaze onto the Loven Sea God, ripping the unit apart, but there are no more supporting units other than this very far away Sovereign God for Imrik's army. The Red High Elves can't really afford grinding through blobs right now, as Imrik really needs to hunt down Alario, preventing her from putting down any more healing, and also these spears will probably get hacked down by all the Swordmasters. But Alario right now is protected by a ton of spear infantry, and the Swordmasters are really strong combatants themselves, and there are no good units for Imrik's army to finish them off. Alario comes in with another healing again, slowly pushing back the balance of power yet again. After so much healing, they still have plenty of hit points, and in contrast, Imrik's spears are on the verge of collapsing. Some depleted Dragon Princess comes in trying to squeeze out more value with one last rear charge. Quickly they will be pulling out, but unfortunately no more healing for them, and they will be slowly dragged down as they are being stuck in these units of infantry. Their leadership wavering at the moment, not quite into routing territory just yet, but they won't be holding for too long in melee combat, while the Silvern Guard all the way on the other side of the battlefield slowly waddling back. So now let us quickly fast forward the battle, as Alario starts to spam healing on all these remaining high elf units, hoping to push back the balance of power more and more and gain some more leverage. Dragon Prince is being routed right now, and all these spears as well being caught by Swordmasters and regular spears. Unfortunately, they never stood a chance. And now balance of power is slowly shifting back towards the middle. And Swordmaster charging these poor Silvern Guard no doubt will be able to cleave a bloody path among their Azure Brethren. Silvern Guard might be great defensive infantry, but the issue right now is that they've lost martial prowess, no longer has that significant defense buff. And also, there are more spearmen pushing in. Imrik is still fairly healthy, being the only thing holding up the red high elf balance of power. Unfortunately, Alario eludes his grasp once more, now being stuck against a whole bunch of spears and the Mage of Metal who came back from routing. Now he really had no choice but to fight his way out as per attacking rule. Among a spear blob healed constantly by Alario, this is not a fight he enjoys at all. Mage of Life comes for another engagement, but surrounded by Swordmaster, there is not a single bit of hope for her to hold herself in this combat. And Imrik on his horse instead of his beloved dragon mount simply does not have the mass to pull through the spear blob to help out. Now let us fast forward here, as there won't be any more psycho charging action. Alario routes off the Mage of Life and all the rest of the units just charges straight for Imrik, surround him and slowly grind him down. The Lord of Dragons here is quite useful in debuffing the spear's melee defense and debuffing their attack as well, but Imrik simply did not have that kind of splash attack to fight through all these infantry. He is slowly being dragged down by those anti-large pokey sticks, and he will soon be gone. Starlands providing that flaming attack and flammable effect might be helpful in a lot of scenario, but certainly not here. And with that, the Prince of Dragons will be routed. And with that, victory belongs to, well, Calador led by Alario. GG to both Lenorm and Mr. Tufel here. This is a great showcase of High Elf Mirror Match. Now for the army performances, you can see that perhaps Mr. Tufel did a lot more damage in the whole battle right here, with 5,000 gold worth of damage value from the Mage of Life, with all those dwellers below, blowing up a bunch of Dragon Princes as well as some of the Swordmasters and High Elf infantry on Alario's side, on Lenorm's side. And combined with the Dragon Princes here who held out till the very last minutes of battle, they basically dealt enough damage to wipe out half their opponent's army. The problem is that Alario's healing is just so strong, especially with the healing overhaul doing percentage based healing. Star of Avalon combined with the Earthblood spamming actually outpaced the damage from the Mage of Life and the Dragon Princess, who doesn't do the most armor piercing. And then with the use of Dragon Princess, they barely held out with all those healing and buffs from Alario the Radiant, pinned in these Dragon Princes from Mr. Tufel's army, and then the Swordmasters comes in and did all the heavy lifting, getting almost 360 kills, doing enough damage value that is basically double their cost. They hard carried Alario's army to victory here, and with of course some help from the Dragon Princess here. Unfortunately, they didn't quite earn back their value, but most importantly, they ran down enemy archers and also pinned in enemy Dragon Princes for the Swordmasters to cut down. As for the other units, we have some spears doing quite well with their anti-large attacks, the pokey sticks dragging down the Dragon Princess cavalry and also doing damage to Imrik as well as the Mage of Life. The Ulthuan Sea God as well, using their arrow fire to shoot down some of the Dragon Princes, doing decent damage value. But the White Lions, a very disappointing armor-piercing infantry, honestly. Not exactly great stats, and also a bunch of mediocre stat lines in other aspects as well, not quite earning back its value. As for the archers, they got routed early by both the Dragon Prince charges and also focus fire from enemy units. Now for Mr. Tufel's High Elves here, you can see that one Dragon Prince, this one, got routed, destroyed early by a combination of Plague of Rust overcast version and then being charged down by enemy heavy cavalry. However, the other ones did quite well, this one getting over 2,400 gold worth of value, and then there's the Mage of Life doing insane damage with all those dwellers below, just that they got out healed, while Imrik here doing some decent damage, not quite enough to earn back his cost, and the Sylvan Guard not doing a lot of damage due to those armor piercing attacks from the Swordmasters, as well as the Ulthuan Sea God right here. The arrow fire does some good damage alongside some anti-large attacks. Spears did some good damage, this one not quite so. Neither did this one, being hacked down by a bunch of Swordmasters. Archers, they also got run down by enemy cavalry, so not quite doing enough value over here. Overall, both sides showcase quite a good use of spell casting, using Alario's spells to heal up the Dragon Princes, using them as a mobile anvil, pinning down enemy cavalry, allowing the slower Swordmasters to catch up and hack down enemy units, and also, more importantly, the Mage of Metal here. Didn't do quite a lot of damage here, but that overcast Plague of Rust was absolutely crucial in cutting down the Dragon Princes, using that armor debuff here to maximize the damage from the Dragon Princes and spears, and basically negating the major defenses on these Dragon Princes. Not their stats, not their physical resistance, but their extremely heavy armor. Once that is gone, these Dragon Princes are rather vulnerable to a lot of attacks. So overall, really great use of casters from the norm. While Mr. Tufel here, some beautiful Dwellers Below were cast in this game. Sure, one of the Dragon Princes got dragged down by a combination of Flake of Rust and also enveloping charges from Dragon Princes, but in return, Mr. Tufel turned this loss into a bait, luring a bunch of Dragon Princes, some expensive units, into clumping up and just nuking them with a single Dwellers Below. Also, a great use of these Dragon Princes earning back massive value charging down units left, right and center. And yeah, that's basically it for today's battle. I hope viewers you enjoy it, and if you do and want to see more, remember to hit the like and subscribe to get updates whenever I upload new videos, which will cover more battles, also wild army builds and tips and strategies for Total Warhammer multiplayer. And if you have your own replays that you want to showcase, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.